Greetings and welcome to Your Positive Lens, where we hope to adjust your focus so you see that members of your local law enforcement community are not much different than you and me. I'm your host, Scott T., and this is episode 4, Dangerous International Rescue. One of the great benefits of Your Positive Lens is that we get to share your positive law enforcement news stories and speak to officers in our Getting to Know Your Local Leo segment from across the globe. This episode will feature our first international story, and we cannot wait for you to hear it. Let's get started. We have all seen those movies where the cars stall on the railroad tracks only to get started just in time to avoid impact or to explode in flames. As a kid playing sports, I remember taking the big yellow school bus to away games. You always hoped that the bus would not stall when it stopped to look both ways on the train tracks. Recently, in Redlands, California, a city a little over 60 miles east of Los Angeles, a driver became stuck on the train tracks. Except this was not the filming of a scene from a movie, but a real life experience. A mother with 2 children in the car was stuck on the tracks as the gate closed. The train was barreling her direction, blowing its horn to alert the driver. The driver exited the vehicle and pulled one of her children out, placing the child on the ground next to the trapped SUV. She went back into the vehicle to grab her second child with only seconds to spare. When out of nowhere, an off-duty officer ran to the SUV, grabbed the child that was on the ground, and jetted away safely, while the mother, at the last moment herself, was able to pull her second child out just as the train smashed her SUV, spinning it in the direction of where the first child was positioned. The quick actions of the mom and awareness and heroic efforts of off-duty Deputy Michael Castaneda of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office helped avoid what could have been a significant tragedy. While Deputy Castaneda is recognized for his heroic actions, receiving the Meritorious Valor Award, he's much more humble, acknowledging that it's just part of being a deputy. If you recall from our conversation with retired Commander Marie Miranda, an officer is never truly off duty, even when they are out of uniform. The heroic actions of Deputy Castaneda to swoop in and help this mom with her child while off duty exemplifies just that. Thank you, Deputy Michael Castaneda of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office. You helped turn what could have been a tragedy into a life-saving experience for a mom and her children. Law enforcement officers are called upon to protect and maintain the safety of all members of the community, regardless of who they are or where they come from. Often overlooked in the work these officers do is the protection of pets. Have you ever driven down the street and saw an animal that appeared to be alone, maybe on a leash or in a fenced yard? I'm sure many of you have, and not wanting to get into other people's business, you continue driving. Well, that's not what recently happened in Hillsborough County, Florida. An individual reported seeing a dog that appeared to be abandoned and without any food or water. As is the case with all reported crimes, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office sprung into action there to protect not just the everyday citizens of Hillsborough County, but our beloved pets as well. These quick actions resulted in the apprehension of the individual responsible and led to the saving of another dog that he had also abandoned at his home. Thank you to the deputies involved in this rescue and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office for caring for and protecting all members of the community you serve. I mentioned this episode brings us our first international exposure, and that is our next story. Have you ever went for a swim only to realize when you turned around that you swam out a little bit further than you anticipated, that the shoreline was a little bit further away than you anticipated, and that getting back safely to shore may or may not happen? That's exactly what happened to Marcus, an 8-month-old. An 8-month-old Groodle. If you are not familiar with a Groodle, you need to look it up. They are very cute, derived from a crossbreeding of a golden retriever and a poodle. Marcus not only went out too far, but then he ended up stranded on the face of a cliff, trapped in a small cave just above the rising and treacherous waters of Australia. No amateur was going to be able to help Marcus. The rocky location and treacherous waters that was rising to his location required an experienced navigator, one that only could be provided by the Marine Area Command from the South Coast Police District of the New South Wales Police Force. If you are not familiar with the New South Wales Police Force, they are Australia's oldest and largest police organization. They operate on land, air, and luckily and thankfully for our stranded Groodle Marcus, they also operate on the sea. The Marine Area Command navigated and completed this dangerous rescue of Marcus, reuniting him with his owner, further reinforcing that law enforcement is there to support all members of the communities they serve. Thank you, New South Wales Police Force, officers of the South Coast Police District, and Marine Area Command. This is a wonderful story, and we appreciate your dedication to not just serving the civilians, but our pets as well. While many positive law enforcement news stories are centered on the work law enforcement does to protect and serve the civilians of their community, the pets of our communities are just as appreciated. Thank you to all the officers and departments featured on this episode. Your dedication to serve our communities, the citizens who reside in them, and their beloved pets illustrates that law enforcement is about community. Thank you for all you do every hour of every day. Please go to the comments section now and let us know what you think. We sincerely value your feedback. Continue to share and follow our LinkedIn page and podcast. We are now available on most major listening platforms. Please continue to share your positive law enforcement news stories as we hope to adjust your focus so you see that members of your local law enforcement community are not much different than you and me. Remember, you can always find places that will share negative law enforcement news stories. But here at Your Positive Lens, you will only find your positive law enforcement news stories. Once again, I'm your host, Scott T. Thanks for listening, and we'll capture you on the next Your Positive Lens.